Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a super fascinating look at the actual mechanics behind human knowledge. I mean, how do you really learn things? Whether it's coding a complex website or, just tying your shoes. Do we just absorb facts like a giant sponge, or is there some hidden dynamic engine driving our intellectual growth? Well, today, we are unpacking Lev Vygotsky's Social Constructivism, and we're going to explore the true step-by-step journey of a learner. Think about the last really complex skill you mastered. Got it? Okay, now ask yourself, can we really learn anything entirely on our own? Sure, you might sit and read a book by yourself or practice alone in your room, but where did the language in that book come from? Who designed the tools you're practicing with? As you'll see, the idea of the isolated lone genius just constructing knowledge out of thin air, well, it might just be a total myth. Okay, let's dive into this. To understand how we acquire knowledge, here is our roadmap. 1. The social context of learning. 2. Language as a mental tool. 3. Navigating the ZPD. 4. Scaffolding and the MKO. And 5. Putting theory into practice. Let's get into it.
Starting right off with Section 1, the social context of learning. So, the fundamental premise we absolutely need to establish right away is that learning does not happen in a vacuum. This whole idea was proposed by Lev Vygotsky. He lived from 1896 to 1934, and he observed something pretty profound. He argued that learning is fundamentally a social and communicative process. It isn't just about an isolated brain memorizing raw data, it's about knowledge being shared and understandings being built within culturally formed social settings. Society and culture are literally the bedrock of what we eventually come to know. I mean, even a supposedly self-taught coder is actually relying on the deeply social language of code that was written, shared, and refined by thousands of other people.
Let's break down his 4 basic principles. First off, children construct knowledge with the help of society. It's an active building process, right? Not just passive reception. Second, development cannot be separated from its social context. You grow based on the environment and the culture around you. Third, learning actually leads to development. It actively pushes the boundaries of your mind forward. And fourth, language plays a central role in mental development. We'll touch more on that in a second, but the overarching theme here is that society is the absolutely crucial, irreplaceable ingredient in constructing your understanding of the world.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how easy it is to confuse constructivism with cognitivism. But notice the key difference here. Social constructivism, which is Vygotsky's theory, argues that knowledge is actually built through social interaction and cultural context. The very structure of your thoughts is formed by your culture. On the flip side, social cognitivism is more about learning being shaped by merely observing and interacting with others in social settings. Constructivism goes way deeper. It basically says the social context is the very material you use to construct your mind.
Moving right along to Section 2, language as a mental tool.
So if society is the raw material, what instrument do we use to process it? Well, it's language. And language is far, far more than just talking or communicating your basic needs. Vygotsky considered it a profound psychological tool. Think of it like the scaffolding of your own mind. It literally provides the framework through which you experience, communicate, and understand reality itself. Without language, our ability to construct complex knowledge would entirely collapse. It is for sure the absolute core mental tool for building all higher-level thought. Right, so how does this socially negotiated framework actually get inside our heads? It happens through a process called internalization. Let's break down that definition a bit. It's the process where a child incorporates knowledge and tools of thought that, at first, exist completely outside of them, through social adaptation. Actually, scratch that. A great way to think of it is a child talking out loud to themselves while learning to tie their shoes. They are negotiating the steps socially first. But eventually, that external chatter is internalized, right? It transforms into quiet, hardwired, independent thinking. Which brings us to Section 3, navigating the ZPD.
Okay, so now that we know learning starts externally and then becomes internalized, we kind of have to ask a critical question. Are there limits to what we can learn entirely on our own? And the answer is yes, 75%. In this educational model, 75% represents our level of independent performance. Without any assistance whatsoever, we generally hit a brick wall right around there. To get beyond what we can do independently, we absolutely need some external intervention.
And that wall is where the magic of human potential actually kicks in. We enter the ZPD, or the Zone of Proximal Development. This is the gap between your independent performance, that 75% wall we just talked about, and your maximally assisted performance. Imagine a wide canyon. On one side is what you can solve completely on your own. On the other side is what you can achieve with full, targeted support.
So the crucial point is that intentional learning is completely limited to this specific zone. True, meaningful growth only occurs right inside this gap. All right, Section 4, Scaffolding and the MKO. So, how do we successfully cross that canyon? Meet the hero of our learner's journey, the MKO, or the more knowledgeable other. By definition, this is simply a person who possesses greater knowledge or skill regarding the specific task at hand. But what is incredibly important to note here is that the MKO doesn't necessarily have to be some authoritative teacher or a parent. It can absolutely just be a competent peer. If your classmate understands a tricky math formula or a level in a video game that you don't, well, in that moment, they are your MKO. Let's move to and see how this built, step by step. When a learner interacts with an MKO. Step 1, you start at your level of independent performance, doing absolutely everything you can on your own, until you just get stuck. Step 2, you enter the Zone of Proximal Development. Here the MKO steps in alongside you to help you navigate this totally unknown territory. And finally, Step 3, with their full support, you reach the level of maximally assisted performance. Boom! You have successfully crossed the gap that you couldn't cross alone. But how exactly does the MKO help you cross? It's not like they just do the work for you, no. They use scaffolding. This means providing clues, giving reminders, offering encouragement, maybe breaking the problem down into manageable steps, or just providing a solid example. Scaffolding is literally the temporary bridge the MKO builds to help you sail across your ZPD. They provide the exact right amount of support so that eventually you internalize the skill, the scaffold is removed entirely, and you grow in true independence as a learner. It's a real game changer.
And that brings us to our final segment, Section 5, Putting Theory into Practice.
And this brilliantly illustrates how all of this looks in the real world. In the classroom, we see two major strategies born right out of this theory. Reciprocal teaching, where students actually take turns leading discussions to improve reading, and collaborative learning, which focuses on learning through group interaction, discussion, and shared goals. By placing students in collaborative, reciprocal environments, they naturally become MKOs for one another. They use language as a mental tool to negotiate meaning socially, scaffolding each other across their individual ZPDs until that shared knowledge is fully, completely internalized by everyone in the group.
So, what does this all mean for us? Well, it leaves us with a profound realization about how we grow. We literally construct our minds together. So, if our highest potential strictly requires a bridge, who is the more knowledgeable other in your life right now? And perhaps more importantly, whose bridge will you help build tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope you take these insights into the social nature of learning and start building those bridges.